Before I start, I just think to have the great man himself looking out at you like this today is a marvellous reminder, isn't it, of who he was. The only thing that's missing that I can see is some initials scribbled on somewhere, PDT. That would make it perfect. We're met here today to celebrate the life of a wonderful husband, father and family man, a hard-working man, a man who created a legacy and achieved so much in his lifetime through dint of his own determination and his hugely decent character. We meet to remember Donald, as I shall be referring to him today. And I must immediately thank his family for meeting with me and through their tears and sadness, recalling what a very special man Donald was for them, and I'm sure for many others gathered here with them today. Let's begin at the end, an ending of a story that was difficult. Donald's health deteriorating as it did. There were reasons which I think still remain an enigma. But he fought very hard because he still had so much more he wanted to do. And of course, people he wanted to do it with. He wanted to share life with his family, including the lady with whom he had spent over 50 years. Although she did admit she wasn't that impressed the first time she laid eyes on him. I guess she changed her opinion over the years. And she would tell you that Donald's greatest legacy is his family. It is they who told me he would want a simple, dignified service. To recall a man who enjoyed a smile and a laugh, and no doubt did so much to support this family, immeasurable ways. But he was also a man with a very private side to his nature, and he would not have thanked us for doing any more than we do today, or saying more than is necessary to pay our respects. He really did achieve so much in life, so much he could be proud of. But I would say this family are proud of him. They know that Donald celebrated life in his own way just by being himself, living his life with values and with standards, with principles that were not set aside, not for anybody. This was a man, as I'm sure we will hear, who gave himself to the business of life the only way he knew how, best foot forward. He knew that we owe life our best efforts, and that's why he was loved by his family, respected by his peers, and admired by his friends. We shall hear firsthand from his family what an impact he made in their lives. We shall hear how thankful they are for his strong, supportive presence in their lives. But before we do hear from them, perhaps I may set the scene a little. Paul Donald Taylor, born on the 3rd of July 1950, to Paul and Edna. They were in the pub trade, I was told, so he grew up being expected to help out in the pub, bottling up, etc. And perhaps this is where his very strong work ethic was established. It was very much a part of his character. As for his name at birth, Paul Donald, well, in his time he has answered to many names. Paul at work. I'm not going to say all of them. Donald in the family home. Mr. Taylor and Sir, of course. Or PDT. There's initials that have decorated and adorned so many items across the years. He leaves behind his wife, Catherine, or Khaki, his sons, Tim and Pete, his daughter, Lucy, and not forgetting Lucy's husband, Luke, and also that Donald was grandpa to Charlie and papa to Freya. I'll quickly sketch out some of his working history, but as I said when we met, a man is so much more than his CV. But work was important, and it speaks to his values. Apprenticed at Sims & Cook as a joiner. It was really a career as a surveyor that he wanted, and he studied hard to achieve what he wanted. He would move to work at Wimpey, becoming a site foreman. He would move to the City Council and worked on the slum clearances, later moving to the County Council and taking on responsibility for the estate of civic buildings like schools and libraries. And this was all over the county, which he quite enjoyed, because it meant he could claim some mileage. But he also got to meet so many different people through his work. Contractors. And as his family said to me, they became like another family for Donald. They knew of his standards, I'm sure. They knew how he would not want to waste a single penny of taxpayers' money. He was dedicated, he was hardworking, and he also found time at the weekends to help anybody who needed his help with surveying and any job, really. I think this is a man who just loved having a purpose, loved being of use. He also had his way of doing things, as we shall probably hear, but I love the fact that he had a special stick just for stirring paint. That tells you so much. How he kept every bit of paper. How he was meticulous. In fact, I think somebody said he was a very organised hoarder. but it's part of who he was. He loved his holidays. I asked about holidays. I asked about his hobbies, and they said sleeping on a beach, that was a hobby. Photography too. Getting himself the right camera, though, was important. Get the right tool for the job, and the job becomes easier. He enjoyed reading. He enjoyed the radio. He enjoyed those rather saucy Janet and John stories that Terry Wogan used to tell. Some of you might remember. He had an extensive music collection. He may have done it his way, but I guess he thought, my way works, so why do it any other? I want to turn to Donald's family and invite them to share just what they want to say about this man's life, what it meant to them. But to begin that journey, I'm going to share the words of a poem that Lucy has asked me to share today. As we look back over time, we find ourselves wondering, did we remember to thank you enough for all you have done for us? For all the times you were by our sides to help and support us, to celebrate our successes, to understand our problems and accept our defeats. All for teaching us by your example the value of hard work, good judgment, courage and integrity. We wonder if we ever thanked you for the sacrifices you made to let us have the very best. And for all the simple things, like laughter, smiles and the times we've shared. If we have forgotten to show our gratitude enough for all the things you did, we're thanking you now. And we hope that you knew all along how much you meant to us. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. I don't think much got past this fella. I'm going to introduce Tim and Pete to come and share their thoughts and memories of their father, and I think Tim's coming forward first. Thank you.
Firstly, good afternoon. I'd like to thank you all for being here. It's a mark of Dad's popularity that there's so many of you. And indeed, all of your heartfelt condolences over the past few weeks have been a blessing for us all. My name is Tim, as mentioned, otherwise known as Number One Son, which my dad used in front of my entire school and was reminded of that fact ever since. The words tact and diplomacy were literally just words to Dad. Some of my earliest memories of Dad were being dragged around lumber yards, building sites and hardware stores, being taught various building regulations, joinery and surveying skills, whether I wanted to or not. By the age of 12, I could recite building regs to you. I could operate any shop tool in Dad's tool shop, and indeed I could even operate, and I mean this, a theodolite. This is one of the many things that I have to thank him for, because as I realised as I grew older, these are skills that are necessary for my existence and my identity. And still to this day, my favourite smell is freshly cut timber. To Dad's work colleagues that are here, I think I need to sincerely apologise to you. In short, I'm probably the main reason for him turning up at work annoyed. You see, I wasn't the easiest child to live with, and I was definitely the worst student ever. And certainly when I read, my brother and I read our school folder, which I didn't exist until the past 2 or 3 weeks, my school reports just horrified me. So this behaviour didn't really align with Dad's thinking or indeed the discipline and order that he sought in life. Things have got to go a certain way, the Taylor way. But as I learnt, whilst at the time I didn't agree, he was actually trying to make me a better man. So despite my best attempts to the contrary, Dad's exacting standards have been ingrained within me. Whatever I'm doing, I think to myself, what would Dad approve? Even 6,000 miles away, with no chance of a PDT inspection, I hear his voice critiquing what I'm doing, and therefore at the ripe old age of 53, I still ask Dad's opinion. And even if I've already decided, I must confess I still ask him because I want to involve him in what I am doing. And if I'm honest, even further, I'm seeking his approval. A good job, son, from Dad is the biggest accolade you can achieve. As I say, Dad tried to bring order into the world. He knew he was correct and the world was wrong. So he wanted to make sure that he was going to correct the world. No one was safe, people, companies, or institutions. He was a prolific writer to all, asking questions, making suggestions, but mostly complaining. Dad used letters, always. Phone calls can be denied, son. Letters always remain. While sorting through his office, we found his correspondence folder. When I say folder, I mean a filing cabinet. However, one letter had us all laughing. He wrote to Heinz to complain that they'd changed his favourite specialty pickle. He had itemised the issues, comparing old and new. The dimensions had altered, the weight had reduced, the date of establishment had gone back in time 17 years before the older time, and worst of all, the manufacturing had left England. What is even more surprising, that Heinz actually replied. I assume, like in every industry, there must be some kind of professional body or association for complaints departments, and I would like to think that Dad's name is whispered in both reverence and fear, with legislation written in his name, the PDT protocol. That being said, Dad was never selfish. As mentioned, he helped anyone who asked. Well, if he liked them. Giving advice, assistance, or sharing his many skills, he did so willingly and always with a cheeky smile. The price, listened to his politically incorrect stories and his terribly delivered dad jokes. Dad was not particularly an artistic type, but he did enjoy the written word. He made a habit of making cuttings, passages, and quotations he liked. And in fact, we have folders full of them, otherwise known as kindling to myself. And I'd like to just pick on two works of art that he was particularly fond of. Firstly, there's a parable called A Round Twit, which is presented normally as a talisman or a coin of some sort. And I will explain the parable. The parable goes on to explain that the token is a round twit. Guard it with your life. Twits are hard to come by, especially the round ones. It will help you become much more efficient. For years you've heard people say, I'll do it when I get around to it. So now you have one, you can accomplish all those things you've put aside until you got around to it. This passage is ingrained in my memory. It sat printed on my dad's home office desk. This huge desk felt like the altar of my doom when I was a child. It was where Dad made me do my homework, or indeed the homework I told him I had. I used to sit there thinking, whilst trying to do algebra, why the hell am I doing this when I know I don't have a round to it? So to remind you all of Dad's persistence, humour, and willingness to help, I've arranged for you all to have a round to it. It is contained within the white box on your chair. Please open it at the end of the service and have a smile in his memory. The last poem I'd like to share with you is especially poignant to me. He shared it with me at a similar age as my son is today, Charlie. I didn't understand it at the time, But as I grew older, I slowly began to understand the poignance of the poem and indeed what Dad was trying to do. He was trying to make me a better person. When I finally realized this, it was this reason alone that I chose to become a father myself. And I'll cherish forever the joy on Dad's face meeting Charlie for the first time, and then the words of wisdom that he shared with me afterwards. I finally felt I had done something to make him proud. The shared pride we had of becoming both a father and then a grandfather. So if I may, I'd like to share this poem with you. It is called If by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor take too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken twisted by knaves to keep a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can talk with crowds and keep their virtue, or walk with kings nor lose your common touch, if neither foes or loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill your unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. So I believe that Dad has not really gone. Dad remains in what he's taught us all. And if we all remember his pearls of wisdom, then he lives on with us all in our hearts. From Charlie and myself, I love you, Dad, and thank you.
Well done. Well done. That's hard to follow, isn't it? So bear with me. I've had to put it in big font because my eyes are failing me. I'm getting old. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Peter. As Dad would introduce me to his friends and work colleagues, I'm number 2 son. For those of you who do know me, keep quiet. So, thanks for being here today, celebrating the life of my dad. It's truly heartwarming to see how many people have turned up. How many of you have travelled long distances and given up your time to show your respects? We are honestly overwhelmed by the love and support you've all shown. It's impossible to sum up who he was in just a few words, even in a few minutes, but I'll do my best. Because if I go on too long, it'd probably get me that look. You know the one. Slightly raised eyebrow, hint of a smirk, and eyes that say, "All right, son, wrap it up." Dad was the kind of man who made an impression without needing to say too much. He didn't crave attention, he just quietly earned your respect. He led with considered actions, not just words. Through the years, he built a life defined by loyalty, integrity, doing things properly, and a very, very sometimes questionable dry sense of humour. So, one of the consistent themes I've heard over the past few weeks when people have been talking about my dad and people who know him, was that he did always offer you sage advice. Not always asked for, not always wanted, and sometimes it could be somewhat direct. A couple of examples. First one was one of my friends from school told him he was thinking of joining the army. And my dad's response was fairly quick, honest and to the point. He said, or I quote, "I'm thinking of joining the army, Mr. Taylor." Dad said, "What do you want to go and do a thing like that for? You'll end up in Northern Ireland, get yourself blown up, and then we'll hear about you on the news." My dad, ever the diplomat. There was another time when one of my friends rolled up to outside Ash Close, engine troubles, and my dad came outside, grin on his face and a torch, handy torch, bonnets up. And my dad looks at the guy and says, "Yeah, I'll tell you what's wrong with this. It's the battery." He goes, "Oh, why?" He goes, "Yeah, it needs a new car around it." So, a couple of other bits to share with you about my dad. His love of food, his love of music, a somewhat varied music collection as well. So many of my friends ask me, "Pete, why do you eat so fast?" And I said, "I'm afraid it's a habit I picked up from eating with my dad." Many times I can remember sitting with my dad having his favourite tea, sausage, egg and chips, or food of the gods as he would call it. And Dad's fork would be sort of looming over my plate like the titles of Grange Hill. So if you didn't eat quick, you didn't eat. And if there was anything left on your plate, Dad would announce at the table, "I'm just off to go and feed the birds." All I can say is there must have been some very hungry sparrows round our way. And now to Dad's music. Like I said, it's varied. You may have recognised the piece of music when you came in today as that theme tune from Inspector Morse, a firm favourite of his. But when I was looking through his iPod to try and work out what music to put on today, if I tell you that in his favourites list was Mr. Loverman by Shabba Ranks, followed up by the theme tune from Twin Peaks, I think you can only assume that these tracks were lifted from the various free CDs that he hunted down, and he seemed to have mountains of. Also know that Dad was incredibly proud of his children. With my brother Tim and sister Lucy, he spoke so fondly of the successes they've forged over the years, and his face lit up when he got to spend time with the grandchildren that have been brought into the family, Charlie and Freya. And with me, Dad's favourite child, I know he was proud of, well, it just says, "to be confirmed." So one of the greatest gifts Dad gave us was the way he was always reliable. He always showed up. He was always there. At milestone events, when you had a problem, you needed some kind of help or just some kind, reassuring words. That was just the normal expectation we had of him. Felt like nothing at the time, but now feels like everything. On nightly calls Dad would make to me over the past few years, and I do mean nightly as well, he'd always end the call by saying, "I won't take up any more of your time." And what makes me smile is I got to tell him on so many occasions, "You're not taking up my time, Dad. I love talking to you." Losing him's hard. And as he said to me when times have been tough, he said, "Peter, it can't rain all the time. But being his child, being one of the lucky few who got to call him Dad, that's something I'll be grateful for and cherish every day of my life." We'll miss his wisdom, his warmth, his laugh, but most of all, we'll miss the way he made us feel. Seen, safe, and loved. Thank you, Dad, for everything. Safe journey.
Thank you both. There's nothing more to be said at this moment. I think it's time to sit, reflect, and what we've heard and what thoughts and feelings you have brought with you to this place today. So let's hear some music and let's go on a journey to the past together.
Sometimes I get to feel I was back in the old days, long ago. When we were kids, when we were young, things seemed so perfect, you know. The days were endless, we were crazy, we were young. The sun was always shining, we just lived for fun. Sometimes it seems like later, I just don't know. Rest of my life's been just a show. Those were the days of our lives. The bad things in life were so few. Those days are all gone now, but one thing is true. When I look and I find I still love you, you can't turn back the clock, you can't turn back the time. Ain't that a shame? I'd like to go back one time on a roller coaster ride. Life's just a game. No use in sitting and thinking of what you did. When you can lay back and enjoy it through your kids. Sometimes it seems like late, I just don't know. Better sit back and go with the flow. These are the days of our lives. Flow in the swiftness of time. These days are all gone now, but some things remain. When I look and I find no change. Those were the days of our lives. Bad things in life were so few. Those days are all gone now, but one thing's still true. When I look and I find I still love you. I still love you.
Technology is wonderful, isn't it? Wonderful. You didn't tell me you used to be Benny in Crossroads, by the way. Catherine asked me to share the words of this poem. You can shed tears that I am gone, or you can smile because I have lived. You can close your eyes and pray that I'll come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that I have left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see me, or you can be full of the love that we have shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember me and only that I have gone, or you can cherish my memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what I want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. I guess that Donald wasn't the only one in this family who can give clear instructions. But thank you. It is a perfect poem to remind us in a way that we can't change what has happened. And we have to find a way to take those next difficult steps in life, guided by the sorts of things we've heard today. Our thankfulness, our joy, our memories, our love. After the service, I think you're going on to Woodborough Hall, aren't you? And I know you'd be pleased to see as many people as possible there to join you, to spend time sharing a few more stories from this remarkable life. My understanding is that donations, you'll see there is a donations box there, are going to support Ward 44, and we really do thank you for any kind donations you make. And the curtains will be remaining open because the family have asked if they could spend some little time alone to say their farewells. I'm sure you could understand why that might be important today. So in a moment when our final piece of music starts, we'll just invite you to go out to the flower terrace where the family will join you shortly. I never write a closing to a service. You know, because I put it in my notes. I'll make it up on the day. I hear what people say. I feel what's going on in this room. And I think the only thing I need to say is, there'll never be another like him. He really is a unique character in the history of the world. He deserves his own section somewhere, and it needs to be organised perfectly and initialed. But maybe, as we've already heard, a little bit of this man does live on in those he leaves behind. And maybe in our way, we sort of pick up the slack, don't we? And we bring to the world what we know, as the poem said, what Donald would want. And the first and greatest thing that I can say on his behalf today is that as a family, I know you will always do him proud by being the family that he loved. And he was a man that you loved, more than words can really say. But he was here, he did it, he made a difference. And the thing we can say is we'll never forget that. Thank you, Donald. Bless you, sir. May you rest in peace.
Come on, mate.